Well, good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. My name is Rebecca Naker, and I am St. Paul City Council member representing Ward 2. Really glad that you were all able to join us today for our 5th City Views event. Just a reminder that if you haven't been part of any of the past City Views interviews, you can always scroll further down on the Facebook page and you'll see all of those interviews there on the page. The purpose of these events is to give people an inside look at how city government works and to meet the people who do that work. I'm hoping that this helps people understand the challenges that city officials face as we grapple with some very complicated issues, and also get a chance to ask your questions. If you didn't send in questions in advance by email, you can send them in now just by typing into the Facebook feed right below. And just remember that this is a civil conversation. We want questions to be asked out of curiosity, and we want to keep the conversation respectful. If there are any questions that we don't have time for today or that we can't answer today, then we will do our best to follow up with those answers. So I am thrilled to be joined today by two guests. I think our first two guest interviews, so it's very exciting, because rather than talking about one person or one department, today our subject is trash. This is a subject that I hear about a lot from constituents, trash, litter in parks and boulevards and roadways, and also our own trash and recycling program for residences. So I have Mike Baum, who is our Parks and Rec Director, joining us, and also Chris Hegman, who is our Recycling Program Manager in our Department of Public Works. So welcome to you both.
Hi.
Great to be here.
I'm going to go one at a time. I haven't done this with two people before, so bear with me. But I wanted to just start maybe with you, Mike, if you could just kind of give us a sense of what it's like to be Director of Parks and Rec in St. Paul, usually at least, number 2 or 3 in the country for parks. So it's a pretty illustrious department and position, but tell us more about what the job is like and what your day-to-day is like.
It's thanks for asking, and thanks for having me here to represent the 800 plus employees that serve the city of St. Paul and the Parks and Recreation Department. I have a great job. We manage 17% of the city that is green. About 800 employees, women and men, work and across 35 business lines doing this work. I'm a lifelong city employee, so it's been my vocation and my career. And I think we're at our best when we're working in community. The community aspect of our work is what's the most fun. It's adding free programs at rec centers. It's doing programs when the days are really long, like they are right now out in the park system, like the Music in the Park series or Fitness in the Parks, or just doing a great job for self-directed recreation so people can access and walk the lakes and the park system. As you mentioned, we've been pretty much continually ranked 2nd or 3rd in the country as a park system. A lot of that has been great stewardship by people that have come before us, both in your roles as elected officials, and then my predecessors in our professional ranks, setting land, creating great public spaces, and now we're in the positions where we can be the stewards of it. Just 2 things quickly to add. It's really, our park system is not mine. It's not yours. It's the community's. We're stewards of public spaces that people define and they use, and those uses are changing. When I started, we didn't have access for young women the way we do now in the era of Title IX, and we were really based on athletic systems and a parks and recreation system that was really Eurocentric, and that's changed a lot. We've evolved our system. Equity is a continual focus and pursuit. We're most proud in our communities winning awards for adding things to our parks and recreation system, like our Tulu courts, our Coteau courts, and creating more more elbow room around our public spaces that serve our community differently than we did when I started, or even even a decade ago when I moved into this job. But it's a great job.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. I know we'll get into more detail with some of the questions. Your reception is a little bit tinny. We can hear you pretty well, but just I don't know if there's any apps or anything or devices you can close out without losing you. That might boost the reception a little bit. But switching over to Chris, what is it like to be the city's recycling program manager? What do you do on a day-to-day basis? And maybe just for folks who aren't just familiar, give us a sense of what the city's recycling program is like.
Sure. Thank you also for inviting me here today. Well, I've lived in St. Paul my whole life, and my career has been working in municipal recycling programs. I've been with the city for 10 years, and I'm really happy to be doing this work in the community that I live in. But our responsibilities are to work on achieving the waste diversion goals that City Council had established about 6 years ago. And really that entails a wide variety of waste reduction, recycling programs, as well as connection now with our organized trash system. But our main responsibility with three staff members, 2 permanent and 1 typically grant-funded position, is we oversee the residential recycling program, and that serves about 17,000 homes, everything from single family to apartment dwellers. And we also work with our Parks Department and other departments to facilitate recycling in our municipal facilities, as well as our public spaces with parks and our street maintenance department. We have 120 recycling containers out on our right-of-ways, out on the corners. We also work with our event organizers and the community who are putting on large and small events, from races to parades, all sorts of things, to make sure that they are recycling and looking at their waste management practices for those. We oversee a container lending program to support residents and organizers to do that work. We also are connected with our, we organize the citywide drop-off events where folks can bring large items, electronics, appliances, scrap metal. About 45% of that material is recycled versus disposed of. And then we also oversee the Come Clean program, which helps connect the community to address litter issues in the neighborhoods. And I hope to talk a little bit more about that later.
Yeah, I'd love to hear more about that. We'll definitely talk about it. Mike, I just had a weird West Wing moment as you were walking during the
I will definitely run that back and watch it myself.
Yep, that was pretty cool. Very Aaron Sorkin of you. Yeah. So right before this, we were just talking a little bit. Obviously, COVID has changed everything for the city over the last few years. With most of my interviews, it's been interesting to ask my guests what is different about your work since COVID, and or since civil unrest the last month or so. And Chris, I know you were telling me something interesting about recycling trends. So do you want to talk a little bit first about sort of how the work has changed in the last month or so?
Sure. Yes, I'm both on the trash side and the recycling side. We have seen more waste generation, just regular trash being set out. And a great fact is that more people are taking advantage of the bulky item collection program that's available in the new trash system. The new organized trash system works with single family through fourplex homes. And there's an opportunity to set out 2 to 3 large bulky items the year with no additional cost, and we've seen a huge uptick in use of that. One, for a couple of reasons. There was a lot of extra spring cleaning and cleaning going on when people were home, right? Taking a look at things, and they needed places to get rid of it. And our 2 June drop-off events, unfortunately, were canceled because of the COVID, and so that recycling opportunity there for folks. So, that was a bummer. We were unhappy that we had to do that, but, happy that people are taking advantage, using the programs that's are there for them. Same with the recycling. We've seen 15 to 20% increase in recycling, and a lot of that is more cardboard. Certainly people, ordering things online, and there's more packaging coming into the home. Also seen an uptick in glass and aluminum, which is great, We've had a lot of requests for containers and or a second container. So that's a positive, on the that side of events.
Yeah, thanks. Mike, how about you? How has your staff been affected, or how has the work changed specifically in the last few months?
Yeah, that question could take days, but hitting on the highlights. It's just in general. I think what your viewers and what your constituents we know too, is that our public spaces function best when they're working as they're designed for and what people expect out of them. And we're really not in that situation this year. I mean, normally right now we'd be playing baseball and softball. We'd be issuing picnic permits. We'd be having community gatherings like Grand Old Days or down at the island or the downtown parks. And the public health and community response for COVID has changed all of that. And we've had to make some really challenging decisions that based on science and impact. Our rec centers are just opening up after being closed for 3 months. We made the decision to close our swimming pools for the season based on public health and budget. And we're just now returning to some of the vitality and public realm uses that people are accustomed to for the spaces. So I'm sure it's frustrating to everyone. It's frustrating to me, and I know to our staff. But it's been a big change, and they've been a series of hard decisions. I think the public has been great in terms of their response to it. The flip side of that is people want to be outside. They want to be in the public space. They want to help. They want to plug in, whether it's doing something organized or picking up litter or helping with some of the things we can't get around to as much. And I will say also that the staff that serve the community, your Parks and Recreation team has been great in adapting. We've been doing things like standing up shelter space for the homeless population and providing service there. We've been providing meals at remote locations. We've been reassigning staff that normally would be in recreation centers to school space and doing translation services. So it's really impacted every facet of what we're doing. But this summer is not an ordinary summer. And I'm really proud of how the community and our staff have responded. But I'm also looking forward to hopefully a return to normalcy at some point when we're back doing what we do the best. And that's providing direct services, supporting gatherings in our parks, and really having full use and vital. If I had to say vitalization, did I just make up a word?
I think it works.
We'll work with it. Full vitality that we're used to in our city, and it's we're just not at a place where summer of 2020 is like that.
Right. Thanks for that. So I want to get into we've been getting a lot of great questions, but I want to get to them. But just before we start, I want to just clear one thing up, because this is something that I think about a lot. I'm out walking or running with my family. I see trash. I see litter, especially in the springtime, just along the boulevards, along the roads, along sort of in the parks. Can you just, both of you, kind of clarify, so who handles that? When is it parks? When is it public works? What do people do if they see litter in a particular location? Because there is nothing more aggravating, I would say, than feeling like there's just always litter in your neighborhood and you feel like it's uncared for it's not being picked up. And I hear that a lot from constituents too. So can you just quickly, briefly, like who's on first with regard to trash, depending on where it is?
Well, that's the big piece is depending on where it is. I can speak to what Public Works is responsible for. We do have trash cans out on the right of ways, on the sidewalks and the street corners. We have about 320, I believe, and about 120 recycling containers at the same locations. Our street maintenance department is responsible for that, picking that up. And they also work on picking up illegally dumped materials that are also in the right of way, in public, in the alley, on the street, not on property. I think parks, they also do illegal dumping collection and do more of the abatement work on property. Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. But one thing that we do in terms of litter, addressing more litter, is our Come Clean program does help. We are able to support the community, businesses, families, religious institutions who are interested in addressing issues in their neighborhood. We are able to provide adopting a container program where we will set a trash can on a corner that we've deemed appropriate in terms of foot traffic and the amount of litter and that needs attention. And someone agrees to take care of that for 2 years, picking up around it, putting it in the trash can, and then actually taking the trash either to their home or business to dispose of it properly. And then we also have adopt a block or an area if somebody wanted to adopt a couple blocks along in their neighborhood. Again, they're responsible for a couple of years, probably 3-4 collections a year. We provide bags and gloves when we can. Ask people to dispose of the trash on their own. If they can't, or if it's a large one-time event, public will work to gather those bags and dispose of things. So we offer a couple different types of ways to support those efforts when people want to step up and help that way. And then certainly we partner with parks on their annual spring cleanup. And unfortunately, that was also canceled this spring. But with that, people were still very interested in addressing some of that, especially when the snow melts, there's a lot there. And working with park staff, we help support people doing their own cleanups in those weeks to come after end of April when they were canceled. So, but that's ongoing. We'll support people all year long with that type of work if they'd like to.
Great, thanks. Okay, so Mike, what's Parks' role then?
Yeah, it's I think Chris hit on most of the big ones. First of all, we need the community's help. If people do something that they don't think is right or is not paying attention, it's possible we missed it or circumstances have changed. It's park customer service at stpaul.gov, which you can find from our website, is a good source. Also, for any city service, the 651-266-8989 will get us the information. And the Public Works Park staff are in constant communication about these things. And they do work to, we do dump some Public Works trash. They do pick up some of ours based on routes. We're working together and we do want that information. For parks, this is our high season. At this time of the year, we have 350 of the load and pack trash cans out there. Those are the ones that look like it can be picked up by an automated machine and dumped in a container. And we also have about 400 additional of the plastic trash containers that are out there, and then recycling scattered amongst that as well. We have staff out there 7 days a week from May through October that are servicing all of those trash cans. And it takes us 10 people 7 days a week, 8 hours a day to service all those trash cans. So we are out there, we are servicing them. Just another stat, 250 cases of drum liners, trash bags that we use to service those things in a season. So this is our high season. We are out there, but if people see something and they think it's not getting the attention it deserves, please let us know. We'll look to adjust. This year, our service is a little bit slower. What pays for that level of service normally, a large portion of those fees come from park reservations, picnic shelter rentals, and picnic permits. Although we're not providing those services, it does augment our level of staff overall. So we're not close to the level of staffing we would have last year at this time. So we probably are a little bit slower. We do have less services we're providing. So we are adjusting our routes to make sure we're serving those things the best that we can.
Great. Thanks. That helps clarify things a lot. And I think that 651-266-8989, I feel like I'm part of a fundraising campaign or something, but repeating the number, I always talk about how that is our 311 number. It's not 311, but it does the same thing.
Yep.
Okay. So some questions from folks who sent them in advance or right now. Mike, this is to you, a lot of questions about Mears Park. There's been a lot of trash there after some folks have been giving out food. A question about whether the southwest diagonal can be power washed. Is the pack and load machine working on a consistent basis and able to empty the trash cans daily? And then a question about whether the stream can be turned on, because apparently a lot of trash is accumulating in the stream bed. So those were four very related but very different questions. So I just wanted to kind of put them all out there. I can repeat them, but can you talk a little bit about some of those years?
First, I'll try to hit those all. First, overall, for the downtown parks and Mears, it is one of the areas, like the rec centers, where the system does look differently than it does normally. Typically, right now on a 80-degree weekday at noontime in Mears Park, there'd be hundreds, dozens, if not hundreds, of people outside enjoying their lunch and taking a break from the workday, with the majority of the downtown workforce working from home. That use is not there. Also, the scheduled events that we normally have at Mears are not there, whether it's the Music in the Parks programs or the larger concerts. So there's been a big change of use and activity in Mears Park. We are servicing Mears Park with the trash bins. There has been a lot of overlap with the use of Mears Park, with the services the city's trying to coordinate to provide service for the unsheltered. And we're working on that in a very coordinated way with our social service providers, the St. Paul Police Department, and our Department of Safety and Inspections. In the middle of that, our park staff are getting in there to clean the park. Overall, we're working with some things to make the situation a little bit closer to what would be normal services. We're trying to augment the lighting a little bit in Mears Park by returning some lighting to the top of the stage and working with the building owners. I don't have the current status of that, but I think the community, if they haven't seen change, will start to see it change a little bit in short order in those regards. Specifically related to the load and pack machine, we are running those routes. Our staffing is a little bit down, but I think our service related to Mears Park is more related to hand picking and being able to get in there and do that work related to any equipment issue. Related specifically to the question about the stream and the fountain, we did make a financial, a COVID and a combination COVID financial decision earlier this year to not turn on any of the fountains in the park. So the stream in Mears Park, the fountain in Rice Park, the fountains in Lower Landing Park and Kellogg Mall, as well as the fountains and the waterfall in Como Park and other park locations have not been turned on and will not be turned on this year. There was a overlap with COVID related to issues with water and water safety at one point. And we also made a decision for the season based on our capacity to be able to service that with plumbers and to be able to service the systems and capture some budget savings. We're working to solve budget impacts to the city's general fund budget this year in excess of 10, which could be as great as $25 million. And that was one way that we could have some financial savings while addressing the overall health issues for COVID. So it's with all of the solutions in place, I understand that's frustrating to some. It's a bit frustrating to me, but I think it was the right decision overall for the combination of the public health and the budget situations that the city is facing. Did I miss anything specific on here?
I think you got to all of it. There's probably follow-ups that I would have, but I want to make sure we get to as many questions as possible. So that's great. And thanks for doing 4 questions for the price of one there in terms of time.
Yeah.
And yeah, the briefer as we go forward, because we only got a few minutes left, folks can keep their answers. This time goes by so quickly. So the more concise you can be, we'll be able to get to more questions. But that was 4 questions, Mike. So that was awesome. So I'm going to switch back and forth. Chris, can you, I know you are not responsible for the organized trash program, but we are getting some questions about the negotiations that are going on with the haulers right now about rates and any other changes to the trash contract. I know that's something that I was interested in. Many of my constituents are interested in. Can you talk about whether the contract negotiations are going on and what they're about?
Well, really what I understand is the only piece that is being negotiated right now is the rates. That's a set annual requirement to adjust those rates if needed. And I don't believe anything else is on the table, so to speak. It's just the rates right now.
Okay. And I know the council lowered the rates this year and there was some contention about that from the haulers. So I know that is continuing to be worked out. Just to folks listening in, I will follow up with Chris Swanson, who handles our trash program, to find out where those are at and where the other negotiations are at. I have been very clear that I think there is room to negotiate additional changes to the contract in terms of sharing and reducing the burden on multi-unit buildings in particular. So I'll follow up separately and post up on Facebook about that. Back to you, Mike. Question about timeline and funding to begin the Victoria Park development, and particularly the planned soccer field. Do you know where that's at?
Yeah. Shortest story, there's a little less than $1 million left in the settlement fund, and we're starting to work on the soccer field, working on design, what that could look like, engaging the community. I think the earliest we would see construction is next year's construction schedule. Nothing will be happening this year, but we can cobble together some additional money, figure out a project, and by next construction season have something that the community's endorsed and we can build.
Great. I also want to acknowledge that was not related to trash, but we're getting some really cool questions that aren't related to trash. So I hope it's okay if we veer off just a little bit when we get those questions, since I have you. Another question, I think this probably also for you, Mike, about whether we could create outdoor workout spaces like pull-out bars or those sorts of things, which is kind of intriguing. Do we have any of those? Have we talked about doing any of that kind of work?
We've looked at those in the past. I think it's I'm just starting to see the proposals that came in from the community-based ideas for the capital budget. I wouldn't be surprised if some of those ideas are in that bucket. It's
excuse me.
Yes. I think all of those things would require some level of capital investment, but that's kind of what we thought. Some of the ideas that could come in through the community-based budgeting ideas for the city's capital budget.
I like that idea.
Chris votes in approval for that. So
yes.
Great. I am just looking to see if we have any other sort of trash-related questions that we haven't talked about so far. I do want to put in a plug for the Come Clean program. Chris, you helped me with the Ward 2 cleanup, and I will say not only was the service excellent but the garbage bags were purple, which just blew my mind. I mean, that's cool. So
Sure.
I don't know if they're always purple, but
They have been for the last few years. And I mean, it's great, but the Parks Department, it really does help because a lot of those cleanup events, we do direct folks to drop things at the park at a trash can, and Parks employees are servicing that, and so it's really helpful. They can spot that and know that it's not just a dumped bag of household trash. That it really is and people have made an effort, and then so. A lot of support there.
Yeah, well, that's great. Okay, so one last question, very trash related question, and I'm trying to stay focused on trash, and then I think we'll have to wrap up. A question about just our city trash cans overflowing pretty regularly. It seems that there's more people, walking around now, especially as people are getting out a little bit more. And often you do see trash cans that are just full, if not overflowing. So the question is, can we be emptying those more regularly? And I guess, sort of corollary question, how often do we empty the trash cans? And do we have any kind of feedback mechanism where we go more regularly if we're seeing that they're being filled up more quickly?
Mm-hmm. Well, in terms of the right-of-way trash cans, I know, I believe that street maintenance is also working 5 days a week on that. They typically do an 8-hour shift. We have a packer truck that they go out and do that collection. They do it manually with a packer truck where they have to lift it and dump it. And with the Come Clean Adopt a Container, while we only have a small amount of businesses and folks that have adopted those, it hit us after a little while when we noticed some overflowing. Is that, well, those folks aren't at the business there every day to take care of those, and so there needed to be some backup for that. So I think we saw a little bit of that, but with people being out more, it's a need. I don't manage that program. I can certainly look into it or how to see how street maintenance has been addressing that need.
That's helpful. I wonder if that is part of it, especially this constituent asked about Grand Avenue, and I wonder if maybe businesses not being at their businesses as often, if they're part of that program, maybe is why those trash cans aren't getting emptied as regularly. But Chris, I think would it be fair to say that people can email Public Works, can call 8989 if there's specific trash cans that seem like they're regularly not being emptied often?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The 266-8989, our Department of Safety and Inspection staff, customer service staff answers that, but then they shuffle, get things to the right departments. You can certainly call recycling or the trash line. Our garbage information line is 266-6101, or recycling is 266-6199. And again, we will make sure it gets, to the right folks.
Great. Well, we need to close up. I know I've already been, you've been more than generous with your time. Before I do my sort of closing spiel, any final words that you both want to share? Maybe something that you wish people knew about your job or about your department or your line of work that they don't, or just kind of any closing thoughts? Mike, you want to go first?
I'll go first. It's like, I think for people listening, it's like, my team cannot be more authentic in saying we need the feedback, because it is possible we're missing something or circumstances change. Is even our employees on their best day, our supervisors can't be everywhere. Our employees may not report everything back. The people in the community know their community the best, so provide the feedback, and we'll do our best to incorporate it into our work. And it's because sometimes we don't know circumstances are changing, and with that feedback we can adapt and respond. And even if we can only adjust 50% of the time, that's still a great benefit to everybody that is participating in using that service.
Thanks.
I echo a lot of what Mike just said. We are looking at how we provide these services. Eureka Recycling, is doing an incredible amount of, dealing with the CDC guidelines for how their staff does their job. And some of our service has been affected with not being able to put out extra material outside the carts. That's not okay all the time, but sometimes it was allowed, and there's just been some adjustments there. Part of the closing linens have been taken, we've stopped accepting that, part of that because it was handled by the drivers. And so there's been things that we had to have adjusted. We've canceled, opportunities at drop-off events, and we understand the impact that has with folks, and we're trying to make sure people have information about how they can dispose of things, recycle more. But that's a challenge for us. Our education and outreach is the overarching umbrella of what we do. And so we've had to change the way we do that. And if we're falling short, right, let us know, how are there other ways that we can get information to you? Certainly call or email, but that has been a big challenge, and we're working to, get information out to folks to help meet their needs with services as they're changing.
Great. Well, thank you both so much. This has been great, wide-ranging conversation, and I really appreciate both of you for the work that you do and the time that you take to be here and to be everywhere all the time. And so in closing, thanks to everyone for being part of this conversation today. I will take a look at the questions and see if there are any that need additional follow-up. And as I said, I'll find out where we're at with our trash negotiations, because I know folks had questions about that. I really appreciate all the positive feedback that people have been writing with the thanks. We really appreciate hearing those positive comments too. Next week at 11:30, back to our normal time, my guest will be Russ Stark, who is our Chief Resilience Officer for the City of St. Paul. So we're kind of sticking with the theme. We're going straight from cleaning up trash to bigger issues of environmental sustainability. So please submit your questions in advance, and please join us next week. Until then, thanks for all that you do for the city, and have a great week. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good day.